Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to untangle the amazing and honestly pretty misunderstood story of how your body handles fat. We're talking about how it uses it, stores it, and moves it around. And trust me, it's a system that is way more elegant than you might think.
So let's just jump right in with a question that really gets to the core of all this. How on earth is it possible to gain body fat when you're on a low-fat diet just from eating something like bread? It sounds like a paradox, right? Well, by the end of this, you are going to know exactly how.
But first things first. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to understand the surprising double life that fat plays inside of us. It's not just this one bad thing. It's a whole story of energy, amazing efficiency, and functions that we absolutely need to survive.
So, here's the deal. Your body has two main ways to stash away fuel for later. Think of carbohydrates stored as something called glycogen as the loose change in your pocket. It's right there, super easy to access for a quick burst of energy. But fat? Fat is your high-yield savings account. It packs way more energy into much less space, making it the perfect, super efficient fuel for the long haul.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. We've been taught to see fat as the enemy, right? But the reality is, it's a vital, super efficient fuel. Your heart, of all things, actually prefers to run on the slow, steady, powerful energy that you get from breaking down fats. Pretty wild?
Okay, so how does that fat on your plate actually get into your system to be used or stored away? Let's follow that journey. Scientists call it the fed state, which is just a fancy term for that time right after you've had a meal.
It's really a neat three-step process. First up, in your small intestine, bile acts kind of like dish soap, breaking up big globs of fat into teeny tiny droplets. That's called emulsification. Then, an enzyme, pancreatic lipase, jumps in and starts snipping those droplets into their basic building blocks. And finally, your intestinal cells grab these pieces, cleverly put them back together into fat, and then package them up into these little transport vehicles to cruise through your bloodstream.
But what about the bread? Okay, this is where it gets really cool. When you eat more carbs than your body needs for energy right this second, it breaks them down and turns them into this universal 2-carbon molecule. This little guy is called acetyl-CoA, and you can think of it as the grand central station of your body's energy economy.
So if your energy tanks are already full, your liver takes all that extra acetyl-CoA that came from the carbs in that bread, and it kicks off a process called, you guessed it, fatty acid synthesis. It literally builds brand new fat molecules from the leftovers of your lunch. And who's the conductor of this whole orchestra? The one telling your body to store all this energy? It's one key hormone, insulin. When insulin levels go up after a meal, it's basically shouting the message, hey everyone, it's time to store energy for later.
So, once the fat is in your system, whether it came from your food or your liver just made it, it has to get to where it needs to go. But there's a big problem. Fat and water don't mix, and your blood is mostly water. To solve this, your body came up with this incredibly clever delivery fleet.
And these delivery trucks are called lipoproteins. So, you've got chylomicrons, think of them as the food delivery vans, bringing fat straight from your meal. Then you've got VLDL and LDL, which are like the big trucks shipping out the new fat that was just made in your liver. And then there's HDL, and they're the super important recycling and cleanup crew, going around and picking up any excess.
Now, this brings us to that whole good versus bad cholesterol thing you always hear about. LDL is the delivery truck. It's doing an essential job. But if you have too many of them on the road, they can start dropping their cargo, cholesterol, in places they shouldn't, like your arteries. That's what can cause plaque. HDL, on the other hand, is the cleanup crew. It does this amazing job called reverse cholesterol transport, where it goes around, gathers up that extra cholesterol, and hauls it back to the liver to be safely disposed of.
Okay, so that's how we store and deliver fuel. But what happens when you actually need to use that stored energy? Between meals or when you're sleeping? Well, your body just seamlessly shifts gears into what's called the fasting state.
When you haven't eaten in a while, hormones like glucagon and epinephrine flip a switch. It's a signal to your fat cells to turn on a special enzyme. This enzyme starts breaking down your stored fat and releasing all those valuable fatty acids back into the bloodstream. And that gives your muscles and organs a nice steady supply of fuel to run on.
So, once a fatty acid gets to a cell that needs energy, it goes into the mitochondria. That's the cell's little power plant. And in there, this brilliant process called beta-oxidation takes over. It's like a molecular assembly line in reverse. It just snips the long fatty acid chain, 2 carbons at a time, releasing a flood of those acetyl-CoA molecules we keep talking about. And those molecules then get fed right into the main energy-producing cycle.
And check this out. This number really shows you just how incredible fat is as a fuel. A single, common fatty acid molecule can generate over 100 units of ATP, which is the direct energy currency our cells use. Now compare that to a single molecule of sugar, or glucose, which only gets you about 32 ATP. I mean, it's not even a competition. Fat is an absolute powerhouse.
Now the body has one more amazing trick up its sleeve. When you're burning a ton of fat and there aren't many carbs around, your liver can turn some of that acetyl-CoA into a special kind of fuel called ketone bodies. And this is so important because while most of your body is happy to run on fatty acids, your brain can't use them directly. But ketones, they can cross right into the brain and give it a super powerful and clean burning fuel source.
So, we've seen how we store fat and how we burn it. Let's just zoom out one last time and think about what this incredible system means for our health, especially living in a world where food is everywhere all the time.
At the end of the day, when we talk about long-term health, so much of it boils down to this one simple idea: balance. It's not just about how much fat is being delivered around your body by LDL, it's also about how effective your HDL cleanup crew is at keeping all the highways and byways clear. It's a beautiful, dynamic equilibrium.
And that really leaves us with a final and pretty powerful question to think about. Our entire metabolism, this elegant, brilliant system of storing and using energy, was designed over thousands of years for a world of feast and famine. But today, most of us are living in a world of constant feast. So the question becomes, how do we thrive? How do we align our modern lives with this ancient metabolic design that's hardwired into every one of us?